Welcome to In the Middle with Mark and Miles.
Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of In the Middle with Mark and Miles.
Machete.
I'm your host, Miles, with my co-host, Mark.
Yay.
How are you holding up, Mark?
Oh, I'm awesome. I am just awesome.
How many days has it been since you've been on lockdown?
I haven't left my apartment in exactly 9 days.
Oh, man. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
Well, I don't think I can explain it to a general audience because I don't think it'd be PG rated.
Oh, man, that sounds like pure cabin fever.
Oh, God. And what makes it worse, it's been the hottest it's been all year.
Right.
And yeah, it's just, it's lovely. It's lovely.
I cannot imagine.
Yeah, exactly. And you?
I mean, having to be out in the world, I'm surprised that I've survived because it's not only is it hot, but people are really forgetting we're still in the middle of a pandemic.
Oh.
So everybody just really, lives like, oh, it's summer.
Yeah, no. It's summer. It's, hey, we're in stage 4.
Right.
And so I'm going to lose my mind.
It's scary. It literally is scary.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, just, yeah, it's really unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know.
Like, I'm still a voting crowd, though.
I've been inside for 9 days, so I'm safe.
Is that the longest have you been inside it since this whole quarantine started?
Literally.
Oh, man. How long?
I haven't. I literally have not walked out of my building.
Oh God.
For 9 days.
How long?
And let me kind of put that in reference.
Okay.
It's kind of like being sequestered on a jury, but you can't stand anybody that you're with. So you basically are by yourself through that whole time.
Right.
But at least they have meals brought to them. I, on the other hand, do not have that luxury.
Yeah, the fend for yourself.
Oh, God. It's amazing what you can do with one hand and a crutch.
Oh, God. How long did it take you to even accept, like, oh, this is my reality now for the next couple of days? Like, this is it. This is all I got right now. How long did it take you to accept that?
Once I got out of the haze of having surgery,
mm-hmm.
I think it was like 4 days, and then I was like, oh crap, man. And it wasn't for lack of trying.
Right.
That's the other thing. It wasn't for lack of trying. I actually tried to go outside.
Oh, okay.
And I made it as far as the elevator from my door, which I believe is less than 40 feet.
Oh, wow.
And the room started spinning, it started kvetching, and
right.
Yeah, no, it was ugly.
That was it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But how are you occupying your time with, just being at home all day?
I've gotten a new appreciation for enlightenment.
Have a lot of self-realization.
It's like they say that Buddha went into a cave for 20 years and came out enlightened, and I'm like, that is such horse shit. I can tell you right now. There is no way. There's no way.
Yeah, 20 years alone does not sound.
Oh, God.
I can't even imagine 9, so 20. Sheesh.
I can't imagine those guys that go in, like, in prison
Right.
and they go into solitary confinement.
Right.
You will lose your mind.
Right.
I'm going stir crazy, but I got stuff.
Right.
They have nothing.
Right.
Except their wits.
Right. Did you see the Danny Trejo documentary I told you about, Inmate Number 1?
Inmate Number 1. Well, let me tell you something.
It's funny that you brought up the solitary, because there was a moment in the documentary where he was like, they put him in solitary and he was just reciting lines from Wizard of Oz, like, yes, I'm gonna get you and your dog too.
Yeah. After he said, I was in my cell in lockdown, and I saw this writing on the wall. It said, "God doesn't exist." But God. Did you catch the part where he said it was written in feces?
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute. I gotta be in lockdown in an 8 by or a 6 by or whatever size that cell is, and they don't clean off the feces from the wall.
Right. And you just start smelling that for like the next couple of days. I don't want to trade places with him. Was that your Machete voice, though? Was that your Machete voice?
It was.
I feel like everybody who watched Machete had the Machete voice.
Machete don't text. That was good. That was a good part. That was a good part when Robert Rodriguez said that.
When he ain't got the line for it.
Danny kept calling him. He goes, right. He kept telling him, just text me. Yeah, just text me. Machete don't text. He goes, and then he was like, oh, that's going in the movie.
I mean, any genius director would have to do it. You just no way you hear a line like that and you don't throw it in a movie. That has to go in the movie.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and that documentary, Inmate Number 1, it showed up randomly on my Facebook feed, and I wasn't planning on buying it at first, but once I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, I want to know more about Danny Trejo, because
when do you ever see a documentary that has 100% on Rotten Tomato score?
Right. I was like,
oh, that's bullshit. They never give 100% on anything.
Literally.
And I was like, oh, that's got to be bullshit. That's got to be some liberal progressive bullshit. Right. Well, he's Mexican, and he's been around for a long time, so we're just gonna give him. No, but he is one of the scariest motherfuckers I've ever met.
Oh yeah. Oh, you met him?
Yeah, a long time ago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it wasn't anything huge. We didn't sit there and have a conversation.
Right.
But he's not a big guy.
Right, I can imagine.
Let me tell you, he has that full. He can go full convict very quickly, very quickly. But he's had an amazing life.
Right.
Amazing life. From really unbelievable hardship from his own doing.
Right.
But what I didn't realize is that he was a drug counselor for so many years.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't like 5; it was like 20.
Decade. Right.
And it was like. And they were, sending him around the country to guest speak and stuff. I didn't know that part.
Right. When I first saw the beginning of it, and they talk about when he was a child, and he was doing heroin at age 12. I immediately sent the documentary to my brother. I'm like, bro, you think you got it hard? This guy was on some hard drugs.
And he was doing that in the 50s.
Right.
Which. That was one of the things that it surprised me is like how old he is.
Right.
He's got to be like 75.
Right. That's a grown man.
But he doesn't act or look 75.
No, he doesn't. Not at all.
I mean,
now this movie Badass make more sense because they had him looking really gray and old in that movie, and now I'm like, okay,
right.
it makes sense now. I get it why he looked that old in that. But he definitely don't look like that in real life. He don't look that old at all.
I haven't seen any of those Machete movies.
Really?
No.
Oh,
No. I was like, really? I looked at that shit and I was like, that was like a bad version of Shaft,
I mean, that was the point of it. It was supposed to be.
No, I know. But I didn't realize like how popular they had become.
Right.
And that, they decided that it was going to be like the black exploitation movies,
right,
in the in the 60s and 70s, but there was going to be Mexican, and they just went, and they said they were just going right over the top with the violence, like right over the top, and then they were showing clips of that. I was like, in the first opening scene, they said, well, in the opening scene, he goes, oh Jesus.
I'll tell you, when that movie came out, I was so excited. I must have been at least maybe in my early 20s, maybe 21, and I just couldn't wait for that film. I just couldn't wait because I grew up on Robert Rodriguez films. He was probably one of the first filmmakers that made me believe that I can make films because all his DVDs would have like these film school lessons on there. So like, hey guys, all you need is a camera, some sound effects, and you can make a movie too. So growing up, I was just in love with films.
Dude,
what's up?
Dude. You're such a nerd. Oh my God.
I am what I am.
You're having an outward bromance with Robert Rodriguez.
I spoke to him once. I spoke to him on Twitter, and I was like, hey, man, I got to tell you. Like, he taught me everything I know, and now I'm teaching other kids what you taught me. And he was just like, oh, man, that's great. I love hearing stuff like this. But then he wouldn't respond to no more messages after that. So I was like,
can you imagine? Yeah, can you imagine how many he does?
Right. I'm pretty sure.
He gets like all the time. He's too busy. He's too busy answering the phone from Danny.
Right. Have you seen Desperado? That was one of the first.
Yes.
That was my first introduction to the adult films of Robert Rodriguez, but also my first film with Danny Trejo. Because before that, I didn't see Con Air. I didn't see Blood In and Blood Out. I don't think I saw Heat at that point either. Cause I think I saw Heat when I was like 16. So I think I was like maybe.
Heat was probably one of my top 3 movies.
Right.
That I liked. I mean, it was just amazing.
Right.
I mean, the way they played that whole line, everybody in that, it was just like, damn. Yeah, that was a really good movie. I've seen that. God, I've probably seen that 10 times, and I don't do that.
Only 10?
Yeah, exactly. I direct you to my former statement about you. Only 10? Jeez, I must have watched that thing at least 35 times.
Oh yeah, when I was in my Michael Mann stage, I definitely must have seen that movie over 50, 100 times maybe. That, Collateral, when he did Miami Vice, like those films I would just watch back to back, almost weekly basis. Especially when I had my huge Al Pacino phase. When I was younger, I had especially when I was 16, I had I just want to see Pacino all day. So it was like, if Pacino was in it, I'm watching it. And it was just,
Fredo, you broke my heart.
I was actually rewatching Carlitos Way the other day, and the movie started. It was like, yeah, man, who would have thought a badass Puerto Rican like me? I'm like, oh man, this movie would never be able to work today. Not at all.
No.
Al Pacino calling himself a Puerto Rican, that's not going to work today. That's that.
No. Nope. It didn't really work then. It was just like, you're sitting there and you're going, what? But it was Al Pacino. He could basically do anything. Right. It's like Tom Cruise playing Jack Reacher.
Right. Oh, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, it's like,
I don't know. Pacino talk is like poetry sometimes. You know what I mean? Just like, the way he delivered those lines. Like, I know you're not Puerto Rican, but I'm here with you, brother. I'm here with you. I can hear it. Like, I remember I was so confused when I was younger, because I had Scarface, The Godfather trilogy, and the Carlitos Way. I watched them all at the exact same time, and I was just like, wait, what is he? Is he Italian? Then he's Cuban in this one, and I was like, how is this even possible? How can you do this? But Pacino, one of the greatest. I watch Pacino in anything, even The Irishman, even though that.
Did you see him? Did you see Dog Day Afternoon?
Oh yes. That was one of the main things when I was on my Pacino phase. I was like, oh, because everybody was talking about it especially when you talk about heist films. They were like, oh, you have to see Dog Day Afternoon. You have to. It's the godfather of all of them.
Dude, I saw that in the theater.
How was that in theaters at that time?
It was amazing. I mean, it was just like, because I don't know the actor's name, but the guy who played Fredo,
right,
in The Godfather played his partner,
right,
in that. But that was crazy, man.
That movie, that's really progressive now if you really think about it. Because wasn't he trying to like raise the money so the guy
partner can get a sex change? Yeah.
Right. That movie was really.
Oh yeah, man. Very.
That kind of aged really well, I think. Out of all the Pacino movies, that one kind of.
They were. Did they film that in New York City?
I can't
remember.
Yeah,
I can't remember if they did it.
Maybe before my time. I definitely don't.
But it was like, films back then were like greasy. Yeah.
Right. They're gritty.
Very, very gritty.
Right. I feel like now it's just way too polished. They don't have that grit anymore. Like it's manufactured grit.
Yeah.
Like you see more.
Tarantino can pull it off.
Yeah, Tarantino could pull it off, but I feel like TV has got a lot grittier than film lately.
Well, of course, because that's where the majority of the talent went.
Right.
After the writer's strike in the 80s, everything changed. Film actors wouldn't be caught dead on TV.
Right.
But after the writer's strike in the 80s, man, that all of a sudden those big actors couldn't get work.
Right.
So they were like, oh shit.
Like, oh, they paying over here?
Yeah, exactly. I can keep my light bill on if I go over to ABC.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's you get like the Eastwood films and the spaghetti westerns, and those are like really gritty things.
Right.
But this is a different time too. The grittiness back then. The way society was, it was just a reflection of society.
Right.
Society was a lot grittier back then.
Right, yeah. 'Cause I remember when I saw Bad Lieutenant, I was like, boy, was it this bad?
Yep.
I was like, no way. This couldn't be life. No, that was New York for you.
Have you seen that special on Netflix yet about the mob in New York?
No, what's that one called?
Yeah, it's I can't remember the name of it right now. It just came out.
Right. Okay.
But it's basically a documentary of the mob and how they controlled New York City.
Right.
Which then spread out to other areas of the country. But Giuliani's on there and some of the other guys. And that was his rise to power.
Right.
Was he went in and
fighting the mob.
Yeah, and just he went in with Chertoff. He was I think under Obama he was a director of the Department of Homeland Security, I think. Right. I can't remember his first name. But there was two other guys. So there was this group of four, Giuliani and these three young attorneys that basically took on the mob and that was the first time that they had used the RICO statutes on organized crime. It was really fascinating when they start talking about how they went about dismantling it. They stopped going after individuals.
Right.
And then, in this documentary, they show you that, here is the 5 families of New York, and here's the structure. There's the boss, there's the underboss, there's the captains, and then there are the soldiers.
Right.
But then they find out through surveillance that there's this thing called the commission. And it turns out that the commission is all of the 5 family bosses who basically make decisions for the entire organization.
Right.
And when that came up, then Giuliani came in and said, that's what we're going after.
Right. They went after
we're going to go after the commission, so that anybody that is involved below them is going to get put in with the RICO statutes. Right. And that's how they ended up taking the mob out of New York.
Right.
Fascinating story.
It is. And
then Giuliani became mayor.
Right.
And back in the heyday when stuff started getting cleaned up.
And that's when they say that's when Times Square became like Disneyland.
Yes, exactly.
There's a lot of stories that I've heard about Rudy. It's mostly a lot from mafia-related documentaries. Like recently, I was watching one on Gotti, on John Gotti. It was I think the documentary was mostly about his son, and basically he was telling the story about his life with his father becoming being the mafia boss and what happened after his father went to jail and how everything basically fell on top of him because he was the son of Gotti. And they were showing clips from the John Travolta Gotti movie, which I always thought was not a really good movie at all. I went just because Travolta. If Travolta's on the poster, I'll probably go see it. But
which is why number one, he's Italian. Number two, he's John Travolta.
Right.
That was.
I can watch that man in anything. I really can.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because you've got. In Giuliani taking over the Southern District federal court or federal Southern District attorney, half his team was Italian,
right?
Which I didn't realize, and I was like, that's interesting. How's that?
Giuliani, right?
Yeah.
So the Italians take it down Italians.
Yeah, and it's interesting getting perspective. But they always said that his team was always saying that he was a media hound. Yeah, so anytime that he could get in front of the camera, they all knew that he'd be in front of the camera. But look, he was just laying the ground to become mayor. That's what he was doing.
Basically.
And that's what he ended up doing. He did an amazing job.
Worked for him. It worked for him. Yeah.
Well, he was the right guy at the right time.
Right. Especially for the way New York was at that moment.
Yes. The city needed cleaned up, and he came in and did that.
Right.
Doesn't matter if you agree with how he did that, and how many people were oppressed during that time, but you take how the city was back then and how it is like today. I would much rather have it like it was.
Right. Would you like it? Would you rather have it where it is today, or have it was back before?
No, when he cleaned up the city,
right,
is how I would like it, because it is not like that today.
What's the difference?
Well, I want to be able to pick up a phone and say, I got some dude pissing on my building and having the police come out and do something. Right.
Okay, I get it. Right.
But under our current administration, de Blasio, he basically has neutered the police. So quality of life laws are not enforced.
Right.
So now we have not gotten as bad as, let's say, San Francisco, or
Yeah, I've heard San Francisco got like a really bad homeless problem out there.
dude.
Like they
Dude,
literally
they
have Skid Row.
Dude, let me tell you something. I lived in San Francisco in the 90s.
Right.
Okay. They had a bad problem then.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't even hold a candle to what's going on out there now.
Yikes.
I mean, it is unbelievable what they're getting away with out there.
Right.
And and I'm only going to get political for a second, but if you look at all of those cities that this is an issue, they're all progressive democratic cities. Every one of them.
So all those Skid Rows are like basically just Chaz under a different name?
Yeah, exactly. They've been Chaz for decades.
Right. They have a term for it.
Yeah, I mean, California is sliding right off the map,
right?
Because of all the literal shit that they have going through their streets. Seattle, Portland, they're all the same,
right?
And it's very unfortunate because California is a beautiful state, man. Beautiful state.
I didn't know how bad their homeless situation was until I saw it was two films. I think it was one called Where the Day Takes You, and another one called The Soloist with Robbie Downey Jr. and Jamie Foxx. Yep. And I was watching the behind the scenes of the film, and they actually went to where the homeless are, where all the Skid Rows, and I was like, wait, this is real? That's real people? And I couldn't believe it.
Well, the thing like Skid Row has been around for a long time. Right. And it has been, an area where like the drunks would go. Back in the day, that's what you would call them. They were because a lot of them were just, alcohol,
heavy drinkers, right?
But
now you got a whole bunch of drugs.
Over time, it's now those 2 blocks, let's say, of Skid Row. Have now gone all the way to the courthouse, which is on that same road.
Wow. Insane.
They had, look at this. Last summer, they had 8 reported cases of typhus.
Typhus?
Do you know what typhus is?
No, I don't think I heard that one before.
It's because it was eradicated in like the 20s.
Oh, wow. They brought something back to the 20s?
It was a medieval disease that was passed by rodents.
Wow.
And it had taken out about 1/3 of the population of the world.
Right. Wow.
And because of the living situations in these homeless campsites that are all over the city, they had all these reported cases of typhus.
Wow.
Typhus. I'm like, what?
All the things to bring back.
No, exactly. Exactly.
That's the wrong nostalgia, people. That's the wrong nostalgia to bring.
I mean, I don't know about you, but if you go to the oh God, what is the book in the Bible where Armageddon happens?
Remember when they had the leprosy?
Yeah, it's like the 7 seals.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what part of the Bible that is because I'm not a good Christian, or I'm just old. but basically, they're over this past year. It's like, okay, we have 5 of the 7 seals that have been broken.
Right. You get the locusts,
and
the famine, plague,
pestilence. I mean, all that shit's happening, man.
Right.
I mean, literally happening. I mean, all the pestilence with the locusts in frickin' where was that? In Africa. And it's just end of days, man. End of days.
This is it. It's funny because one of my favorite movies is Arnold Schwarzenegger in End of Days, and since all this been happening, I haven't had the heart to rewatch that movie. I was like, you know what, life is getting too close to. I think I could be. I'm okay with
it's like when this shutdown all started happening with the pandemic, and people were watching Contagion.
Oh, yeah, I was one of them.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It's like, yeah. No. This is probably the worst thing that you've ever seen in your lifetime. But you know what? I'm just going to double down and I'm going to terrify myself by watching this movie.
Hey, you know what's funny? Contagion wasn't the one that really affected me too bad. It was Outbreak that made me like, I should be like. Outbreak is the reason why I'm not going to the movies when they reopen. Like that one sequence when they're in the movie theater,
it's like, oh man, it's like
laughing, and then
what's on this seat?
I'm so terrified of going to the theater just because of that one sequence in Outbreak. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. Actually, this weekend will be my first time actually going to, well, not an actual movie theater, but I'm going to a drive-in this weekend to see Harlem Nights with Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor. That's going to be maybe the first movie I've seen in any crowd since. You know, and the crazy thing about it, like, that's how I know I really miss the movies, because that movie is not on my top list of top Eddie Murphy movies. It's not on my top list for, like, top black films, top comedies. It's nowhere on any of my top films list. But because it's a, outdoor film and I could be in my car, I was like, you know what?
It's because you're jonesing. I'm jonesing for a movie, man. I'm jonesing.
Like
I can't get my normal fix, so I got to go the other way. I got to
go to withdrawal.
I got to go to the methadone clinic. God, so I got to go to the drive-in.
Right. And I was like, you know what? It's around the corner. It's not too far from my home. I do love Eddie Murphy. Fine, let's go. I'm gonna go do it. Let me go see it. But it's literally not my, like, at all my Eddie Murphy films, that's probably nowhere near on top of my top Eddie Murphy films. Well, or even gangster films. Like you know me. I was listening to Scarface and The Godfather through the womb, but this Harlem Nights did not take. It doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it.
Through the womb. Oh my God, you need to kill me.
I'm telling you, my mom will come one day on the show and she'll tell the story. I'm telling it.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. She and I, we're gonna bond. We are gonna bond, no question.
Did I ever tell you the story when I found out that she had me hearing this stuff through the womb? So around that time, like I tell you, around when I was 16, when I had the Al Pacino phase, this is when I was really in theater. I'm like, I want to be a thespian actor. And I'm like all the way in. And this guy was selling a whole bunch of DVDs.
Dude, hold on. Did you just use the word thespian?
Yeah, I think that's a phrase. It is. That's not a thespian actor. That's not a thing.
Yeah. Nerd. You're such a nerd.
Like, I just proved I was doing the drama stuff that one. Like, oh yeah,
thespian. I'm gonna be a thespian. And like, oh my God. Oh.
Hey man, I love my craft. What can I say?
Well, there you go, man. Better to love that than crack.
Right.
I mean, things could be a lot worse. No question.
Right? Like, that's why I sent my brother that Inmate #1 documentary. I was like, hey man, this guy was on like my hard drug at 12, bro. Like, what are you going through? This man was like,
you ain't got shit over this guy, man.
I over Danny. Anytime anybody's gonna tell me some shit about their life, I'm gonna point out Danny. Like, I don't know, man. I've heard about
exactly
some things, but Danny seen some things.
When they talk about when they're talking about all those like alpha guys from Hollywood, and they're doing I don't know what was it, Con Air or something. Everybody's like talking about how bad they were in certain times of their lives. And, and who was it that
Nick Cage who said?
Yeah, Cage walks up and looks at Danny, looks at these guys and goes, well, I don't know about you guys, but that's the guy I'd be more afraid of.
I mean, if you look at that cast, who else would you be more afraid of? It was definitely Danny. Danny had that look. It was just like, oh man, that's not the guy you want to mess with.
But what a humble dude, man.
Very.
Just humble dude. And when he talks about Charles Bronson,
right.
Oh, it was like awesome. Or De Niro.
Right.
See, this is what I didn't know about the Machete movies, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that De Niro in it
Was like De Niro and Mel Gibson and these big time actors were in them. I had no idea.
It's a great film. Well, the first Machete, I would say, is a great film. That second one, I was very disappointed in. I was like, okay, now you're going the Spy Kids route with this one. But that first one, it was on, like, if you love exploitation films, the old Grindhouse films, Machete was everything. It felt like it belonged in that era of films. But the second one, I'm not a fan of. But what I was saying, well, Pacino. So one day. No, it was a week actually. Now that I remember, it was a week. So every day I would come home from school and I was watching a different Pacino movie. So one day it'll be Carlito's Way, then it'll be The Godfather, Godfather Part 2, Godfather Part 3, and Scarface. And my mom came home one day. Usually she didn't come home at this time, but some reason that day she came home early. I think she was sick or something, and she just froze at the door because she's hearing all the the amount of fucks that was coming out of Al Pacino's mouth in the movie. So she just freezes like, wait, I know that voice. I know that. And then she comes in and she just freezes at the door. And she just sees me watch the movie, and I'm just like, "Oh, hey, Ma!" And you hear all the fuck, all this, and she's just sitting there, and she's just staring at me. So I'm thinking I'm in trouble because of how much cursing is going on in the movie. Because I'm like 16, and so I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mom. Is this movie offending you? Should I, stop it, pause it, whatever?" And she was like, I used to watch this movie when I was pregnant with you. Like, I was like, what? Like, I used to watch this all the time when I was pregnant with you. And then like the next couple of weeks, I kept rewatching Scarface because I was just in love with Brian De Palma's directing with Scarface and Carlito's Way. And she thought it was something that she did. She's like, oh my God, I ruined you. I ruined you. You can't stop watching this movie now. Like, this is all my fault. I'm like, no, Mom, no, don't worry. I'm not gonna become a drug dealer. Don't worry. I'm not selling drugs tomorrow. Like, that's not what I'm getting from this movie, Mom. Relax. That's not what I'm getting from this. Yeah.
I might be an actor portraying a drug dealer.
Oh yeah. My first movie, like, because of films like Godfather and Scarface, I was so set on like my first movie's gotta be a gangster movie. It has to be.
God.
Because Robert Rodriguez taught me that you gotta use what you got. So I'm like, all right, I live in the hood. I got some prop guns. There's definitely some gangbangers outside. Screw it. We're making a gangster movie. Let's do it. And I didn't even realize how crazy it was until one of my actors who had no gang affiliation, haven't really been in the hood. One day she just came to me and she's like, hey, are those guys really, like, gang members? And I was like, oh, shoot, yeah. I'm sorry. I should have gave you the heads up. Yeah.
You should have given me the heads up.
Like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. They're not actors. They're not.
Yeah, no, that's them. Just
but it
be
worked
nice to them.
The end. It really worked out the end because nobody could tell who was the actors and who wasn't when they watched the film. They're like, wow, you had a really great cast. And I'm like, you know. Only half of the people are acting.
Yeah, exactly.
My mom still has horror stories when she thinks about it because we have bank robberies and everything. She's like, there's no way I would be able to make that film now in the current climate of just in general of how New York is.
No, you just get shot.
Right, basically, yeah, on the spot.
Yeah. No, exactly.
And that's the crazy thing about it.
It's like, stop and frisk? No. It's going to be shoot. And then, what are you doing?
Right. And it's crazy because I didn't even think about it until recently because the first day, was it the first day? I want to say it was the first day of filming. And I wanted to get the bank robbery out the way. And we have a ATM area not too far from here. And I knew, because it's in my small neighborhood, I'm like, okay, the mall usually closes around this time. The ATM will still be open. We could go in around this time and shoot this quick bank robbery. I have 3-4 actors in there. My lead actor's supposed to come in with the gun, do the robbery, and get out. We should get it done in one take. When he got to the bank and realized that we were not only in the actual bank, but we had no permits or anything, he was like, I'm not doing this movie, bro. I can't. And because it was the first day, I'm just like, what?
I'm a young man, man. I can't go to prison.
Right.
Because that's federal time. And
all I said was, here, hold the camera. I'll do it then. And I just always think about the people who came, who would want to go to the ATM and they saw us making a movie and they're like, it's okay, we'll wait.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll wait. We'll wait as they're calling. Hi, police. This is, I'm at the corner of...
Right, there's a whole robbery going on here. I can't tell what's going on. And I'm lucky enough, I was smart enough when I walked into the bank, I had a huge sign to point to the camera like, hey guys, we're just making a movie. So I've never got any calls about that. Even funny enough, I even have a scene in the precinct when I escaped the precinct, and something told me I wasn't going to get the permission to shoot the scene. So I was like, guys, before we go in and ask, just get a shot of me running out the precinct real quick. And they're like, what? I'm like, don't worry about it. I know what I'm doing. I got this. And walk right in, run right back out. And there's everybody just terrified, like, oh shoot, you're about to die, you're about to get arrested. I'm like, no, we got it. We got the tape. You got it on this camera? You got it on that camera? All right, cool. Shoot's over. Then I went inside and went to act like, hey, officer, I'm a filmmaker. I want to shoot the scene. They're like, yeah,
no.
We'll call you. They never called me. They never reached out to me.
Of course not.
But I got
They're like, it's like, get out of here, kid.
It really was. It really was.
Yeah.
But,
okay, yeah, we'll call you.
But the thing was, especially at that age, I was just like, so like those gangster movies were just so like, the way I looked at them, I didn't see them as gangsters. They were more like badass entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? It wasn't until I was older I started realizing what's wrong with those images of a gangster.
Entrepreneurs?
Yeah, they were badass entrepreneurs. That's how I looked at it.
Wow. Okay.
It was
okay, dude.
I truly understood what was wrong with the image. Because I think it was when I was watching.
It's probably because half of your neighborhood was
right. Everybody was about that life, right?
Yeah, just like that. It was like
that was the culture, quote unquote. And it wasn't until like the older I got, I'm just like, there's something completely wrong with this being our culture. Like, why are we teaching each other? We gotta rob, we gotta steal, we gotta pimp. Once I got the gangster movie out of my system and made the movie, when I was able to realize what was wrong with the image, especially because, I was portraying my own neighborhood as, like this crime-filled neighborhood, and in reality, my neighborhood wasn't really that bad. There's mostly elderly people here who are retired, people who are raising their families, there's a small bunch. Of course, there's bad apples everywhere.
Were they retired gang members? Or
no. No, my neighborhood actually was a very peaceful neighborhood. I think until maybe the late '80s is when stuff started getting ghetto-fied or whatever. But from there, I think I call it ghetto-fied. Yes, when they got
ghetto-fied. See, I learned something new every day, man.
That's not an actual term though. So.
Ghetto-fied, and what was that? The conscious community. And,
Yeah, you got the whole type of community. Yeah.
Oh. I've actually used that on a few people I know, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's the thing." I was like, "Oh damn, man, he was right."
Slowly, you learn the culture. You slowly get it. Piece by piece, every episode. Get it.
Well, it's what happens when you check your white privilege.
But it's the truth though. Our culture, especially when it comes to like the hip hop culture, is all this. Everybody's a tough guy. Everybody's a gangster. You gotta be a drug dealer. You gotta be a gangster. Even when we were talking about Grand Theft Auto last week, I was thinking about that too. I was just like, the amount of damage this Grand Theft Auto did alone. Like I was talking to a few in one of the earliest installments of Grand Theft Auto. They have one called San Andreas, which takes place in California, and that one it's all about gang culture. Literally all about gang culture. And I asked one of my friends, I was like, hey, how much do you think that game affected you? And he was like, I don't think it affected me too much. I was like, all right, so when you play Grand Theft Auto today, if you see somebody wearing purple, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm going to shoot that man. I'm like, well, why? And I was like, that's what they taught you to do in the early game. Like, you see someone wearing those colors, you went after them, And he didn't even think about it. He was like, wow, I didn't even realize that still affected me that way. And I was like, that's everything that we have. When you look at our movies, especially if you look at like Superfly or, Black Caesar, like those, like these were.
I love those movies, man.
I was with my older brother the other day, and I always love to watch old films with him, and those are the films he always bring up. Like, oh man, we gotta watch, the Fred Williamson films, the Jim Brown films. I'm like, bro, other than Shaft, these guys were all playing drug dealers and gangsters. Like, I thought there was more positive image back then. I was like, oh no, this is where it started. I get it now.
Yeah.
This is where it started.
I was all about the sisters, man.
The Foxy Brown, the Foxy
God,
Coffee.
Foxy Brown. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I think, well, the thing about Coffee, Coffee was a nurse. Coffee wasn't a drug dealer. That's why she was killing the drug dealers. So it's different. It's different.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. That stuff was just.
I would actually love a good Coffee remake right now. I think I would.
Yeah.
I would enjoy that. That would be good.
But who would play?
Oh no, you can't replace Pam Grier. The Pam is just one of a kind. It's just one of a kind.
Halle Berry is Coffee. No, I don't think that would work.
It would just be Coffee liked.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, that's not coffee. That's an Americano.
Right. It's a little coffee with cream, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know.
Whoa! I'm not going there, man. I can't do that.
Yeah, I'm allowed to say that one.
I mean, if you and I had a kid, maybe, you know.
Well, you know, what I was thinking about is like, you know, especially after I did my first gangster movie, I started realizing the image because, I filmed in my neighborhood and, sharing it. And I'm just like, wow, look at the image that I portrayed of my neighborhood when it wasn't even, that dangerous like that. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, this is the kind of, this country has idolized the gangster
persona
since like the 1800s.
Really, that far back?
Oh yeah, man.
Oh, I thought it was like
think about Billy the Kid.
Oh right.
I mean, Billy the Kid, man. They wrote
they're still writing about Billy
books about him.
Right.
You know, like they were almost like comic books.
Right.
About him. I don't know what the genre of the writing was, but writers made these guys into folk heroes.
Right.
And then you get over the years they get into like the 20s during Prohibition and everything that was happening. You got Machine Gun Kelly, Dillinger, and what's his name, Capone, and all these guys, and they, there was a persona,
right? Bonnie and Clyde.
In the community of the mafia, the Italian mafia, in the communities, they were reveled in. They were anti-conformists. And there is our country has a fascination with that because we're such a conformity type of nation. We're a nation of laws and rules, and pretty much the general public follows those.
Right.
But it's those outliers, those people that are, go against the grain. They forget, and I've talked to quite a few FBI agents and who were on the organized crime task force, and they talk about how romanticized these guys were in the mafia guys, how romanticized they were in people's minds.
Right.
But what the part that people didn't see was they would turn on their people in a heartbeat.
Right.
In a heartbeat. Not all of them, but the bulk of them.
Right.
If they were given a choice,
right.
We're going to give you 2 years in prison if you give us the name of this guy or, who did this job.
Right.
All these guys were telling me is like, as soon as they get jammed up, everybody, because it's not just them, it's everybody.
Right.
There's very few guys that when they start to get jammed up, they're not going to flip.
Right.
Very, very few.
Right. No more reason why I stayed out of that life, because I'm like, if I got to look over my shoulder or got to worry about I got to testify one day, then there's no reason for me to get in now. I'll stay away. Like, I'm okay. I'll fake it. I
think it's funny that you actually had that choice to make. You know, when you think about it, because I mean, for me, I never, that wasn't even
An
in
opportunity.
the universe. That wasn't even a universe of my world.
Right.
But with you,
Yeah, if you
that was actually
that's a choice.
Exactly. It was like that was an
every
option.
day you get
I
an
would pick,
opportunity to join.
you know, I would like option number 3, please. Gangster life.
I think what solidified that I was never going to join anything is the fact that Al Pacino died in every one of those gangster movies that I saw. I was like, he never survived, not one of those movies. I was like, Scarface, not Carlito's Way, even though Godfather, he got to an old man, his daughter died before he could even get there. So maybe just all the way around, it doesn't look like a good idea. I think
exactly.
a healthier life, staying out of prison.
I was, that partly, like, for me, I was such a Boy Scout for so long. I mean, literally just a straight up Boy Scout. And I could not fathom doing something wrong.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's like, and to my detriment, because I would hang out with some of my teammates as a young kid, and there was some shit that would happen, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I was like, I ain't doing that. And then they do something and go, I didn't do that. And now everybody's like, well, we're part of the team. Everybody's got to do the same. And I'm looking at them like, what? Fuck you. I didn't do that. But, I didn't have the concept of team at that point.
Right.
Kind of like the military. It's like, you never volunteer in the military for a reason. But, one guy fucks up, everybody fucks up, that kind of thing.
Right.
Oh, God, I don't know. But yeah, we have this, we have this romantic affiliation with the gangster.
Right.
Those non-conformists.
Play by their own rules.
Yeah, but I mean, look, even with some of the Eastwood movies, even though some of those spaghetti westerns, he wasn't the good guy. Right. He was like hero. Thank you. It was like, the Antichrist. That was kind of what he was playing. What was the one where he's like a mirage? What?
One of the westerns?
Yeah.
The Good, Bad, and the Ugly?
No.
That one.
It was the one that.
The Man with No Name.
I think it was that one. The Man with No Name.
Right.
It's like is that the one where they painted the town all red and stuff?
Dang. I got to rewatch.
I can't remember. I mean, it was just like it's like you go through the whole film, and then all of a sudden, I think it was towards the end of the film, he just disappeared. Yeah, exactly. He just like evaporated. I'm like, what? What the hell was that? It wasn't like Shane or something like that. It was just like, that was crazy.
But the gangster image has been around for a very long time, and people still to this day, love it. Like all the way down to whether if you want to take just even music in general. That's where where I see that someone could come in and be like, yeah, I sold drugs, I've been in jail, and they applaud him for that. Like, yeah, you're the coolest, and it's like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, hold on now.
Well, it's like how many? I think I always find it interesting when you find someone in that genre of music who had a extremely white bread upbringing.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of them.
And then like Drake, who gets involved with certain people or has certain things, people around him, where he takes credit for certain stuff just to get cred. Right. Just to get credit, and I'm like, oh God. And it's like, maybe I introduce him to Danny Trejo.
All right, then maybe here we humble stuff a little bit more. I'll tell you
It's
that anytime I speak to anybody now who is about that life, I'm just gonna show them that documentary. Like, like I really love those type of stories. With the Danny Trejo story, or even if we go far as back as Malcolm X, somebody who where the life that they were living was up to par, and they realized it and was able to come out better. The true underdog story. I appreciate those stories more compared to the stories where like, oh yeah, I went to prison and now I'm a hardcore gangster and I'm coming out with this gangster mentality. That doesn't help anybody. Like that's all it does is just keeps the cycle continuing.
Well, what I find, it's just little things that over time that you start paying attention to, like correctional facility.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was just another PC way of trying to convey a message that had nothing to do with what was actually happening.
Right.
Correctional facility, what does that say to you? That says we're sending people there to be corrected in their behavior.
Right.
No. What you're doing is you're sending them to school.
Right.
And it's not the school that you want.
Right.
Because when people come out of there, if they go in not very educated, when they come out, they got a master's degrees in the darkness.
Right. They learn all the other stuff that they could be doing. I can do that too. I can do this.
Yeah. It was much better when you call them prisons
mm-hmm.
and incarceration.
Right.
But because it has nothing to do with rehabilitation.
Right.
Because they just don't do that.
I think they just don't like the term prison anymore.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I was watching, it was a documentary from the BBC. I can't remember the name of it, but it was recent. There's a group of, I think they were Muslims in China, right? A very small part of China. I forgot, it was like Wuhan or not Wuhan. That's where the COVID comes from.
Yeah, it's up in the northwestern part of the country.
Right, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right, and you heard the stories about how they took a bunch of people and basically brought them to these, basically their concentration camps, and they're like, oh no, this is not prison, this is not concentration,
this is a re-education.
Right, it's
re-education.
It's vocational, education,
Well, that's totalitarian governments have re-education. It's like Stalin had re-education camps.
They're not in prison.
But most people never came back from those.
I'm watching this documentary, and this woman, she I think she was there for almost a year, and then after they let her out, they forced her to work at one of these places where they make masks and gloves and everything, and then after 2 months they let her out, and the way she described it, I'm like, this sounds like Nazi Germany. This doesn't sound like an educational place to go. Like, it's not the place where like, hey, I'm gonna go learn how to get a job and everything. Like, that legit sounded like they were brainwashing a whole civilization. Like,
you must assimilate. It's like watching the Borg on Star Trek.
Right.
that is a classic example of a totalitarian regime.
Right.
We are the people.
Right.
And, the resistance is futile.
Right.
Because that's what it is. When I saw that stuff on Star Trek, when I was like, oh my God, that's Russia, or oh my God, that's China, or Iraq or wherever, at that time, because that's how they are.
Right.
You fall in line or you die.
Right.
Period.
I think does a great job of discussing, political things and not forcing it down your throat. That's one thing I really do enjoy about sci-fi. Like the other day, I was rewatching RoboCop, and you're watching in this movie. You had corporate America aiding and helping criminals, and they're inciting riots, and they're lowering property value, and they're trying to buy up the city while privatizing the police force. And I'm like, wow, this is like 80s. This is like And I was like, how is this so relevant to this day? This is the original RoboCop, people, not the remake, that polished one that's all, all slick and stuff. I appreciate the old gritty one, but
With Peter Weller.
right.
The Peter Weller RoboCop, not the new and improved version.
Yeah, that was horrible. I love the actor, didn't like the film.
No, the actor's great.
Right, I watch him in anything, but not RoboCop. I wouldn't watch him.
But
in RoboCop.
you saw him in The Killing, right?
Right. Yeah. I haven't watched The Killing yet, but I started.
Oh my God, man, that was just. I was on the edge of my seat the entire series.
Right.
Because they were just so, and I lived in that area.
Right. Oh, so you recognize?
They filmed it. Yeah.
Right.
So I recognized like a lot of it. And the way that was always. It's very similar, like with X-Files.
Mm-hmm.
They were filming in the Pacific Northwest,
right.
Usually in Vancouver, Canada,
right,
and which is basically the same kind of environment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that everything is wet, everything is overcast,
right.
You have these lush green foliage, and it was just dark.
Right.
And that's pretty much Seattle. I mean, 258 days a year of overcast.
Right.
In Seattle. So
it just looked like what, an episode of Valhalla Murders, basically.
Yeah. No, man, it was crazy. But I was watching that show and I was like, and the acting was so
superb.
Amazing.
Superb.
So amazing. And I had never seen him before. I can't remember his name.
Right.
But he came, man, a drug addicted detective.
Right.
Oh, God. And he was like dead on. You totally believe that he was a drug addict.
Right, like he played it to the T.
Yeah, or like a recovering.
Joe, I got his name, Joel Kinnaman. That's his name, Joel Kinnaman.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, RoboCop it's not my favorite film from him, but I literally could watch him in anything. He just had that voice where it's just like, yeah, that's a man.
Yeah.
Like he was in Suicide Squad, and I was just like, yup, I believe it. I believe he's a killer. That's him. Like you just have one of those voices. Like I have one of those voices that get really high pitched. Sometimes sound like Mickey Mouse. So when I hear like a real deep voice, I'm like, nah, that's a voice. That's a voice.
Mickey Mouse. Wow. Okay.
You know I'm really excited when you hear my voice go up there. When it gets to that Michael Jackson level, I'm really excited. Like, oh, he's happy. That kid is happy right now.
He's so happy. It sounds like a little girl.
I had someone look at that. There was one time I was doing an internship at the Courtyard Marriott, and the guy was like, "Hey man, you put some bass in your voice, bro. Like, what's going on?
You got to be more black, son."
Come on, put some bass in that voice. And I'm sitting here like, I'm just being me. I'm feeling my truth, man.
I had I don't remember who it was, but there was a guy I was working with. This is a while ago, and he was black, and he was brought up in the suburbs in Connecticut.
Right.
And he was straight up, I think probably maybe one of 3 black people in his high school. Right.
Oh boy.
So anyway, he comes to the city, and he's working in the city, and he and I were talking one day, and again, this is not something I had any concept of.
Right.
And people were coming to me talking about him. I go, what are you talking about? Well, he's just, he's really not black enough. And I go, whoa, wait a minute. What the hell does that mean?
Right.
He's not black enough. What? He's too creamy? I mean, what? I mean, I'm sitting there.
Right.
I'm literally trying to sit there and try to figure that out. It's like, what the hell does that mean?
What does that mean? Right.
Oh, and then, I got educated later. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, there's levels to being black, Mark. There's definitely levels.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm fighting for my black card every day. I'm a card carrying black guy. Come on, guys.
It's like Dante's 8 levels of hell.
The struggle is real, my friend.
Fighting for your black card. Oh, God.
The struggle is real. You speak proper English way too much. You don't know enough songs. They start looking at you funny, like, wait, bruh, where did you say you was raised from?
Yeah, exactly. Where you from?
Like, I had to start pulling out stuff from every corner. Like, okay, you proved it. You one of us. And instead, I have to go through these things. Like, bro, I really have to go through the worst of the worst just to prove my blackness to you. And apparently, that's the case. Yeah. Like, yeah. You know. Like, oh, you never struggled before. Oh, wait, you from Southside Jamaica, Queens? Okay, I'll give you that. Like,
I wonder what it would be like for me. It's like, I'm sorry, you're not white enough. What the fuck would that mean?
Nah, see, the only way somebody would say that to you if you really spoke in slang and, like you was really part of the hip-hop culture, then somebody may say that to you, like, wait a minute. You act like
you mean like Drake?
The perfect example I can
Post
give you,
Malone.
The perfect example I can give you, matter of fact, you guys can see this right now on Fandango. There's a movie called Malibu Most Wanted, right?
Yes.
Have you seen it before?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
hilarious. Hilarious.
That's where someone would say, okay, you're not white enough when you're acting like Jamie Kennedy.
Wasn't that kid on SNL?
No. He had a show on, I think it was on WB. It was called the Jamie Kennedy Experiment. It was like part sketch, part, candid camera. He was dressed in different characters.
That was hilarious, dude. I remember that.
I watched that movie a few weeks ago for the first time in like almost 10 years, and I was the jokes that I didn't understand as a child that I get now. I was like, wow, this movie was bold. This movie was really bold for some of these jokes. I thought it was just hilarious. The whole thing, you got, the real street guys, then you got the black guys who are actors pretending to be street guys, and those are the ones that people will be like, hey, man, you're not black enough. Those are the Tay Diggs. Those are the ones that...
Tay Diggs.
Oh, and he was perfect in that film. Perfect.
Tay Diggs. That's great.
But
I don't know, bro.
To wrap it all up, you bring it back to Danny's documentary. The one thing that I really appreciate about that documentary when he was just like, if you do good things will come back to you. And that's the model that he went through for the rest of his life. That's what made him, start, doing the motivational speeches, which eventually led him to acting.
Do good things for others.
Right. That's the main thing.
Good things will come back to you.
Right. That was the main thing. And look how well it worked out in his life. He went from just being a drug counselor to, just helping somebody on set do a movie to actually being part of the movie and then actually starting a whole, film career. And then, to fast forward, here we are in 2020, he's in over, more movies than John Wayne now.
Yeah, exactly.
He got restaurants, he got record labels, and it just goes to show you, hey, that's one of the reasons why I've been sharing the documentary with people. I'm just like, even though he plays a tough guy, he's very humble and he cares about bringing good into the world. And I feel like we have more of that in the world. We wouldn't have so much of
because he decided to be the change.
Right. That's all it is. That's all we're asking people. Be the change that you want to see in the world.
T-shirts to follow.
Until next time, guys.
All right, man. Take care.